Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you are. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. We shall begin soon. Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Just want to say welcome to everyone. We will begin in a moment's time. This week's discussion will be, let me see if I can position myself. Hold on. Is it here? Right. It's so nice to see you again. Let me see who is here. Welcome, Richard Clark. Welcome, Andrea Dalos. Just put your name in the chat and where you are joining from so I can, just give you a nice shout out. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's my pleasure being here with you this Sunday evening, this Sunday morning, this Sunday night, depending on where you're joining from. Just put your name in the chat and tell me where you're joining from. Welcome, everyone, to Design to Inspire with your host, Charlene Clark Kira. I've been away for a while, but I'm back now. Yes, consistency and discipline is important to the process. But you know what else is important to the process? Self-care. Many times we feel as though we need to go on and on and on and on without doing a little self-care. And I had to do that. But I'm back with you. Good evening, good morning, good night, good day, wherever you're joining from. Today we're going to have a very spicy discussion, but it only can be spicy if you participate. And so, in order to participate, you can WhatsApp call. No, listen, listeners, viewers. I prefer if you call. There's no you don't need to be nervous. Your voice sounds as good as mine. I prefer if you call than if you text, because if you text, sometimes I'm not able to see the messages until after the show has ended. So here is what is going to happen today. You're going to call me and let us have a discussion so that the world can hear your lovely voices. So to participate, you can WhatsApp call me at 1-877-367-0127. That's 1-877-367-0127. Let me explain some things to you. My computer is here, my phones are here in my hand, my camera is right there. So from time to time, you see me glancing down. I'm actually glancing down on my phones because, as soon as the show starts, I'm getting messages. And then I would glance back at the camera. So if I'm looking down, I'm not looking away from you. I'm really engaging you, but I'm trying to engage those who are not on as well. So let us participate. Let us have a healthy discussion this evening, and let us walk away with something that new that we would have learned. Hello, welcome, Janelle Lingo. It's nice to see you, Andrea Dulles, Richard Clark, Andrea Dulles, and I'm not seeing, but welcome one and all. As you would have recognized, I stated that I wanted to have a little discussion with you about mental health. Mental health. And it is a topic that is still current due to the things that are happening around us. You see, we are not so much, well, we are not keen on identifying individuals who are faced with mental health challenges, mental health issues. My last show, I would have interviewed, not not really to say interview, but you would have heard from a caller who is a teacher who has gone through a lot of challenges that really tested her faith to the point where she felt as though she was losing herself, losing her way. How many of us are there like her? How many of us are hidden beneath the material acquisition? How many of us? Because many times, and to use the most recent happenings, the most recent unfortunate situation, that of the former Miss United States of America who took her life. Many times when we hear these stories, we begin to ponder how, what could have been the problem? Because the individual who would have carried out these suicide based on their challenge with mental health are not individuals whom we deemed or who we see as persons who possibly might be going through issues. You see, we have a particular definition, and when I say definition, not just by words, but by images as well, of individuals whom we believe are mentally ill. And when an individual who seem to, on the surface, have it together, and most times, many times, when these persons whom we believe are well groomed, well comfortable in life, are persons who are really faced with challenges. And so because of the material acquisition, because of the fact that they are able to present themselves when they are, within the crowd or within that space that would require them to present themselves. And because every time you see them in that space, they are smiling, they are jovial, they are engaging, they are, remember that in their alone time, we are never there. And so the smile that you would see when they are engaging us because we are a part of, we are sharing their space at that particular moment when they are expected to engage would disappear when they are in their own space that is not shared with any of us. And as soon as we hear that someone is suffering from mental health or has died because of suicide, the first thing that comes to mind, but she's always smiling. He's always looking good. He has acquired so much in life. How could this happen? Because we tend to align these things with the fact that you are okay. Wealth, material acquisition does not equate to mental health or mental wellness. You can have or possess all there is in this world if it is at all possible. Or let me rephrase that, you can have all your heart's desire as it pertains to material acquisition and still be empty inside. Many times we do not take the time to really analyze the situation, pay attention to the individual. What we do, we look at the peripherals. We look at, you know, the outer sphere of the person, so to speak. Many times we do not see the sadness in their eyes because the smile is illuminating the room and thus take away from the glare or the sadness presented in their eyes. And so because we're not able to, step away from these things, if an individual laugh a lot, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. It has been found that many persons, persons who like to make others laugh, and even, they say sometimes those who practice psychology, those who are into the counseling field, persons who are in the comedic field, usually are persons who are searching for happiness. And in their bid to find happiness, they try to deflect the fact that they are unhappy by doing all these things that would hide their unhappiness. And it works because we are not keen on observing beneath the surface. We are just okay accepting the surface. We're okay with the surface. We're okay with what is presented to us. Mental health is a real challenge, and in order to fix this challenge, we have to join hands and hearts. In order in order to fix these challenges, we have to reach out, we have to help. You know what is happening in today's society when I look at the various social media platforms, I realize that persons who are faced with mental issues, mental challenges, they are used for likes, they are used for subscript to gain subscribers, they are used to channel another person's success within the social media industry. What do I mean by that? I would see an individual who needs an assistant being placed on a platform, to be laughed at, and they are really operating in their natural state, but because they are now placed on this platform where the world is now viewing them on this platform, in their natural state they become comedians. Who is responsible to say, well, then, who will take up that responsibility to say, well, then, listen, let us do differently? We cannot continue to engage these persons in this way because they really don't know what they are doing. This is their own state. They need help. But we are using them, again, like I said before, for likes, to gain subscribers, to gain recognition. And at the end of the day, These persons are withering away. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. Hello from Atlanta. I want to hear from you because every day when we listen to stories, it might be a different way the act is carried out, but it is similar as it pertains to the individual's mental health. We hear of stories where persons are losing their lives to the hands of their family members, whether it is their father, whether it is the mother, whether it is the son, as in the recent case in Jamaica where a mother and a father lost their life by the hands of their son, whether it is suicide, whether it is a relationship gone sour. What is happening? And it is more frequent, it is prevalent in the society. Something is wrong. I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and he said to me it could be the food that we're eating, you know but it's not. It's a fact that we're turning a blind eye. It's a fact that we are not attacking these issues. It's a fact that we're skirting around these issues. And so, instead of offering help, we become a part of the problem. And then we become so surprised when we hear the stories, the similar stories. When who will take up that responsibility to step out and say, well, then it's time to help, to step out and say, well, then listen, we cannot continue on this path because this situation is real. And if we continue to operate the way we are operating, it will only get worse. How can we help? How can we help? We need not wait on the government to step in. We often say, well, then it's the government of the country, wherever you are, to implement programs, to engage and to listen. You cannot engage, motivate, and inspire someone who has mental issues. It is not possible. The point is not to try to motivate and inspire, because that will not go anywhere. The point is to see what needs there are. What are the needs in order to treat with the mental health issues? An individual who is suffering from mental health issues, challenges, you cannot say that person needs to seek help, because they need someone to guide them. Who is responsible? Who will take on that responsibility? How can we make it better? Yes, it might not be your brother, your mother, your sister, your father. No, but you never can tell when. And if we realize that there is a challenge, there is a real issue, how can we become a part of the solution? That is what I want us to think about. How can we become a part of the... How many persons do you know suffering from mental health situation, conditions, challenges? How many persons do you know who is suffering from mental health challenges, who has issues in that sphere? How many persons do you know at this point where you can say, well, then, yes, I know of this individual who has mental health challenges? And what have you done to see how you can assist? We have to be more helpful, considerate. We have to join hands, like I said before, and unite for a cause. We need to focus more on the individual and less on the material things that they are surrounded by. We need to look at how we can invest time. And there is no such thing as we don't have time. There is no such thing. We make time. We make time. Let's see how we can invest time in engaging an individual, participating in some forum that seek to treat with mental health. It is getting worse. I have also heard that COVID made a lot of persons crazy. And probably I've said this before. That too is not true. That too is not true. Again, you have to understand this disease, I call it. If it is not critical where you can cope, think about it. And let me use something as simple as a headache. Let's think about a headache. Let's make it a massive headache, a migraine headache. You're suffering from migraine headaches. But if you have the right medication, you can cope with it. Now, if the medication becomes scarce, you would realize that you are having more frequent migraines than before because you're not able to get the medication to treat with the migraine issue because of the scarcity of the product. And so you become frustrated, it becomes more of a problem to you. You're not coping so well. Now, think about COVID. So, before COVID, yes, you had persons who could socialize and, they were coping. They were coping because they were able to gel within, their own social space. They were able to operate within their social space. But then since the onset of COVID, a number of things has changed. And since the change that was brought on because of COVID, you realize that the things that these persons who really have challenges coping outside of, a social engagement, or to say, well, then they have, family and friends who will assist them. No, COVID has put some form of restriction on these things. You find that they're not able to cope because their coping ground exists no more. So their mental challenges, their mental health becomes worse. So it's not COVID that has caused a lot of persons to, you know, be suffering from this disease. It's the fact that their coping method, their coping mechanism has been derailed because of the fact that restrictions were placed on the society. And so they had to operate differently. How can we help? When we look at children, children, children suffering from mental health situations or challenges, what is the cause of that? Because in order to assist, we have to know the cause. What is the cause of that? What is causing them to break down in this way? And once we identify the cause, then we can begin to, formulate a solution. But something needs to be done. Who is responsible? That's my question. Let me go to the chat. Andrea Dallows, people who suffer from mental health issues always say they are okay even when they're not. And so because they are hiding, they hide behind a number of things. If you are not keen, you will not, well, if you're just acquaintances, possibly you might not know, but they have families and friends. And if you are not keen enough to know that this individual is hiding behind these things, then you would believe them. And then when you hear the stories, the sad stories, you become surprised. Mental health challenges has no age barrier, no race barrier. It doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, where you're from, how wealthy you are. It does not matter. If you are not well mentally, then your wealth, your material acquisition cannot make you happy, will not make you happy. Yes, you will be able to use it as a screen to cover your illness, but it will not make you happy. And many a times, persons who have these challenges, if they, like I said before, oftentimes do not seek help. It takes someone who is really ready to invest that time and care into the individual to offer help. And when I say offer help, the help might not be with you, but it can start with you. Because you might not be equipped with the tools to help this individual, but it can start with you. We have to do something. We have to do something. The narrative of the stories are the same. We need to change the narrative. It is becoming prevalent in our society. You know, when I, in my earlier days, when I used to attend primary school, and a teacher would be assigned a class of 40 children. Yeah. And some children would be labeled the bad apples because those children would come to class and they would not want to learn. They are always fidgety, they are rude, and so they're labeled the bad apples. And they would either punished or they would be asked to leave the class. But then it's not about a blaming game, because it's really and truly you're talking about a teacher with over 40 students, a teacher who was trained to tutor. And sometimes the teacher is not able to identify that this child is really not a bad child. This child is having issues that they are not able to deal with. And in order to get the attention that they so desire, this is how they behave in order to get the attention. I remember a lot of children were labeled the bad apples. And when I became a teacher, I decided that I would not follow suit. I remembered I had a class of 44 students. I was their form teacher, they called it at the time. So I was responsible for that class. As a matter of fact, the entire class was deemed the bad class. And I was assigned that class. I'm not sure why. Maybe the bad teacher for the bad class, but I was assigned that class and I decided that I would not be labeling these students. And so when I engaged those students, I engaged them differently. I tried my best to identify little behavioral habits in each child. Yes, it was 45, but because of the fact that they were already labeled the bad class, I decided that I was going to change the narrative. Because if the child if the child is told day in and day out that they are terrible, they are bad, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? They are going to do the things that would be aligned to bad things. They are going to believe that they're terrible. And sometimes, if they are describing themselves, if they are introducing themselves, they are going to say, well, I'm the terrible one in the family. So, knowing that, I decided that I had to change the narrative. And so, I engaged that class. I had them for a year, 1 year. I found out those who needed special attention. So they had to visit the guidance counselor. We had a schedule for those students. I found out the ones who really needed the attention from the teacher because they were not getting it at home. When they're at home, they are responsible for their other brothers and sisters. The mother and the mother or the father are not there to give them the love. So when they come to school, they behave in such a way that, they are always at the staff room, or they're always in the principal's office because they don't know any other way to seek the attention that they so desire. And my engagement with them was in alignment with how I began to label them. The first thing that I did was to ask each student what they aspire to become in life. Now, if a student say to me, Miss, I want to become an entrepreneur, even when I'm angry, mad at the student, I would label that student the best entrepreneur there is. And whilst I engaged them in this way, I realized that their behavior began to change. It was just simple psychology. I realized that their behavior began to change. And not only that, the mindset of the teachers who once labeled them as bad apples changed as well. Because they realized that these children had good in them, but they were not placed on a platform to showcase the good that they had in them. In life, we have to be more in tune with people. You see, we are too secluded. We're too selfish. We're too all about us and family. And so we don't look at the man next door to see that, well, then this person needs help. We are too caught up. The pressure that society places on us to be successful in life can derail our mental health. Because while we aspire these great things in life, while we try to acquire these greatness in life, our mental health is wanting. And if we are not careful, we can be materially wealthy and poor when it comes to our mental health. Does it make sense? Does it make sense to acquire all there is in the world and be the unhappiest person there is? Does it make sense to be that parent, that guardian who provides all there is for the child materially, but is never there for the child while the child is wasted away? We have to think differently. We have to reach out. It is becoming too prevalent in society. The narrative of the story must change. And it is with us to change the narrative of the story. It cannot remain the same. Let us stop pretending. Let us cast aside our own selfish need and step outside of our safe net and reach out to offer help. If we don't do this, we're going to hear many more cases similar to that of the most recent story of the former United States of America beauty. We're going to hear more stories of parents losing their lives at the hands of their children. We're going to hear more stories of children becoming psychotic. It is time for us to join hands and hearts. My question again is, who is responsible? Who will take on that responsibility? Let me share. Welcome, Nikila Clark. Some persons who suffer from mental health issues are sometimes afraid to seek help or confide in someone as they are afraid to be judged or criticized because our nature to label the person. I just gave you the story. We have so many labels, you know. It is our nature to label an individual instead of trying to see how best we can help the individual in order to improve, be a part of the solution to improve their progress, their growth, their development. But we're quick to label. And as soon as we label, we want to detach ourselves. We don't want to be aligned with that person because if this person is labeled crazy, then we are afraid that we are going to be labeled crazy as well because we are in the company of this individual. We have to change the narrative. We have to change our mindset. We have to look at what really matters because what we're focusing on is not what matters. That is not what matters. We have to shift the focus. Who is responsible? Who will take up this responsibility? Who will talk about it? And after we've spoken about it, what will you do? How can we begin to join hands and hearts together globally to fix this situation? It is becoming prevalent, too prevalent in the society. Do remember, if you want to participate, you can do so by calling 1-876-367-0127, or you can WhatsApp me as well, 1-876-367-0127, to participate in this discussion. I'm not hearing from you. I'm just reading the text messages to share with you. We are very quiet tonight. And I guess it's because of this story. But there's no need to be quiet. Let us be vociferous about this. No one person can fix it. We have to do it together. And if we share together, we surely can arrive at a solution. But if we remain silent, if we remain blind, then we are going to continue to have stories like these. We have to open our eyes in order to change the narrative. It is becoming too prevalent in the society. Being surprised at it will not help. Separating ourselves from it will not help. Sheltering those persons whom we know are having these issues, these challenges, will not help. We have to do differently. There's a saying, we can't do things the same way and expect different results. We have to do differently if we want to see different results. Mental health is a real, huge challenge. Mental health is a real issue. And wealth does not equate to good mental health. We need to remember these things, viewers. I am very passionate about this because I have come to the realization that if we don't get up and do something, we are going to continue to lose our young men, young women, our mothers, our fathers, our sisters, our brothers to mental health, poor mental health. We're going to lose them to poor mental health. Whilst if we stand together, we could have changed that. It's like we're sitting to waiting. We're waiting to hear who is next. And when the next person shows their true colors, then we begin to wonder why? Why? Do remember that if you have interest in joining hands and hearts together, you can do so by various, platform or media. There are so many bodies you can join to be a part of, or you can be creative and create your own. I am a part of a newly formed company. I'm yet to talk about it, and the main focus is mental health. The company connections, and I'll be talking more about it as soon as we are ready to go. We'll be focusing on mental health, mental wellness. We will be directing our energies towards assisting persons who are faced with mental health issues. And as soon as we are ready to step out, those persons will make it public, and persons who want to join hands and hearts together may do so along with us. But we have to do something. We must do something. Is it that we're waiting for it to knock on our very door before we say, okay, let me see how best I can help? And so then we have different types of, intervention because it knocked on our door. Let's not wait for our doors to be knocked. Let us be proactive. Let us try to change the narrative, and let us not wait for our own to write the same story for us. Let us change the narrative. We cannot continue like this. I, I am at this point where I feel that I believe that if we don't stand together now, we are going to be faced with grave issues. Think about it. The schools will be filled with mental challenged, not just children, but also teachers. The industries will be filled with mental challenge employees and employers. What then? Let us stop let us stop equating wealth with being well mentally. Let us stop equating the show of happiness, because I have to say the show of happiness, what is being showed, what is visible on the outside when the person is, within your space, with being mentally well. Let us stop equating your titles, your job position, your accolades with being mentally well. Let us look deeper at the individual. Lee thank you for joining. Lee shared some people are too prideful and don't want to admit that there is an issue to get help. Well, that too is true. But remember, like I said before, perhaps you're just joining. Most persons who are faced with mental health challenges are not ready to say that they need help. They are usually not ready to say that they need help. And that is why they hide behind many things that they hide behind so that their mental health issues would not be so visible unless you are very close to that individual to know that they are having issues. They are not usually ready to reach out. And this is why I'm saying if you know of an individual who are faced with mental health challenges, try to offer assistance because they are not going to come to you to say, well, then I need help. Most times, they're not going to say, I need help. Stop putting them on the social media platform and make them into a joke. And then when we watch the videos of them operating in their natural state, we're laughing and we're sharing it to the world. Let's not do that. I have had many videos of persons who are faced with mental issues, challenges, and when I look at it, it's a million likes. And persons find it funny, and I do not share it with one person. I begin to look at how can I reach out to this individual to offer help. It is not a joke. I'm not there. I am not going to share it for likes. The person needs help. We need to help the individual. But because of our own selfish desires, selfish needs, we do not see the needs of others. We are blinded by our desire to achieve and acquire without realizing that what sense would it make to acquire all these things if we're living in a world filled with mentally challenged people? Let's think about it like that. Mark Williams, welcome. That's the problem. Mark Williams shared. That's the problem. We are not the race to go to the therapist and seek help. Uh, we are afraid to seek help from the therapist because of labeling. Once you seek help from a psychologist or a psychiatrist, there is a difference between the psychologist and the psychiatrist. The psychiatrist, I believe, goes deeper and can prescribe medications. But once we seek help from these individuals whose sole responsibility is to engage in that way, we are labeled crazy. And yes, that is true. And so that is why it is important for us to eradicate the labeling. We, as a nation, we are too quick to label people. If someone is abused, they are labeled. If someone is suffering from mental health challenges, they are labeled. Why? And so these method of labeling the individual is what is causing the problem because persons are truly afraid. They don't want to be seen. You know, Let me share another story. And I knew an individual. Well, I know of an individual who was not able to read. As an adult, he was not able to read, and part of my engagement with the individual would be to motivate and encourage them to register with a particular institution whose sole purpose was to engage persons who are not able to read. Now, the world knows this institution and knows its purpose. So once you are registered with this institution, the world looking on, and when I say world, with a little bit of exaggeration, but those who are looking on would know that you have registered with this institution because you're not able to read. And so the individual did not want to register. because of the labeling. And people, he was afraid that persons will now laugh at him and the labeling. So he was willing to go through life not learning how to read, not registering with an institution that can offer the help. He was ready, he was comfortable going through life like that rather than turning his back on those who are labeling him to improve self. And that is a true story of what is happening. People are just afraid because of the labeling. We make it seem as though they are lesser than rather than encouraging them. You see, if an individual knows that they are having mental health challenges and they register into an institution to help to treat with that, looking on, we should be encouraging them. We should be cheering them with our pom poms. That's what it is called, pom poms, and whatever else, music in the background and cheering them on. But instead, what do? We laugh at them and we label them. The narrative has to change. Because if the narrative remains the same, the story, so too will the story. The story cannot change unless the narrative is changed. Who are the narrators? We are. We are the narrators of the story. What we do help to build the story. Yes. For every person who commits suicide because of a mental health issue, we help to build the story. For every person who is suffering from mental health challenges and has done something that is negative to his health or the health of others around them, we help to build that story. We are the narrators, not just the individual. We are the narrators. And so it's our responsibility to make a change. Let us do it. Let us join hands and hearts and make this necessary change. Let me hear from you, Mark Williams. A lot of us don't really know what to do about treatment for the disease. There are various institutions that help with treating with mental health challenges. Um, Persons can get help. And note, I am very careful with choosing my word because, like I said before, usually they don't seek help, right? So we can direct an individual or encourage or offer or assistance, right, by engaging the individual towards seeking help from these institutions. So whether it's a psychologist to start to, begin to engage the individual to find out the root cause, right? And it depends on the severity of the illness. The treatment depends on the severity of the illness because sometimes we begin to offer help, and as soon as the individuals show a sign of improvement, we believe that okay, that was all it took, and we withdraw our assistance because the individual is seem to be coping. But the severity of the mental health challenge depends or will determine the level of assistance that is needed. um I don't think that sometimes, and this is from Lindell, I don't think that sometimes the individual who is sick mentally is aware that they are sick, because I think it is just a state of mind. So we have to let them be aware that they are ill if we can. But how do you do that, Lindell? How do you do that? Welcome to Design to Inspire. How do you do that? You see, no one person has the solution. No one person. We have to come together to find a solution. No one person has this solution, but we have to begin to recognize that there are persons out there who need our help. They need our help. And we have to begin to learn how to really be helpful. Yes? Whose responsibility it is. Let me hear from you. We are winding down now. I know, yes, I hear it. It's screaming through the chats right here, or your silence. It's not one of those moments where we're laughing and engaging in a way where it's one of those solemn moments of introspection because we now have to look within ourselves to see what can we do. Yes, it's real, viewers. It is real. Many persons are having mental health challenges, and we are turning a blind eye to it. We need to do differently by them. Remember, we help to narrate. We are the narrators of this story. And note I say this story. So, whomever we can reach out to, let us do so. Let us do so. Because it will not make practical sense to exist in a world that is filled with people who are mentally unwell, to include ourselves, it would not make sense. So while you're in your own space thinking that this is all that matters, think about the wider space, the wider environment, because you are surrounded by the wider environment. And that is what matters. The safety of the home is important, but what matters most is how safe is your surrounding, your environment. And that is the focus. That is what I want you to focus on. Not just your own space that you have created, but the environment that you're surrounded by. Because if we fix that environment, then there's no need to be so focused on that personal space. Listen to that and tell me if it makes sense. If we fix the wider environment, then there would be no need to focus so heavily on that personal space. But we find ourselves focusing on this very small space because we're not lending a helping hand to the wider community, which needs the main focus there is. Let us try to help. I want to say at this point, if we don't change the narrative, we will suffer at the hands of mental health. And when I say that, I'm not excluding. Let us not exclude ourselves because we never know when is our day. Let us be true to ourselves because we know for those persons whom we're close to, we're really in their personal space, we know them. Let us be true to ourselves and let us lend a helping hand and not just turn a blind eye because it's not our business. It is our business. Let us be selfless. Let us be concerned for others, even though they are not related to us by blood, but they are related to us because they share the same space we exist in. Let us do differently, listeners. Thank you so very much for joining. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, you may do so. Please subscribe, and I say may. If you like the content, please subscribe, share with your friends and family, and let us continue to do good. Let us continue to design, to inspire, like I said, to design to inspire. But nothing is wrong with that. Let us design ourselves to inspire. Now, for those of you who are not yet following me on Facebook, please, you may do so by searching. You can search your, how do I say this? You can search for me on Facebook at Charlene Clark Cura. So it's Charlene Clark Cura on Facebook. On Twitter, it's Designed to Inspire. On Instagram, it is Designed TWO Inspire. On LinkedIn, it's of course, Charlene Clark Cura. You may follow me for valuable content. I implore upon you today, listeners, viewers, to do differently by offering our service, offering ourselves, offering our time towards the greater good of our country. The country cannot be good without the people, and the people cannot be good without a healthy mind. Yes, we need to aspire to be great and to be greater and to be greatest, but let us aspire together to have healthy minds. Because without healthy minds, nothing else matters. Everything is just for a time. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much. It's my time has expired unless we want to share. Anyone wants to share? Thank you, Mark. Mark says, great show. Thank you, Mark. I look forward to engaging with you soon. Um, All right, so we haven't much to say. I am between phones and cameras, so pardon me if I'm not looking straight at you. Thank you for joining me today. This was Designed to Inspire with your girl, Charlene Clark. Please remember to subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Facebook at Charlene Clark Cura. Follow me on Instagram at Charlene Clark Cura. Follow me on Twitter at Designed to Inspire and on Instagram at Designed TWO Inspire. Please go and check out my website at designedtoinspire.biz and you will get further information there. To book a speaker for your to book a speaker for your event, of course, you may DM me or you may email me at charleneclarkcura at designtoinspire.biz. Let us together make this world a better place. Thank you for joining and see you soon right here on Design to Inspire when we will be talking about another topic.